Now, let's see what was Stalinism and collectivization policy. These were the policies to improve the condition of the poor peasants and increase production. The period of the early planned economy was linked to the disasters of the collectivization of agriculture. Joseph Stalin became the leader of the Soviet Communist Party after the death of Lenin in January 1924. By 1927 to 28, the towns in Russia were facing acute problem of grain supply. It means they were not having enough supply of food grains. The government fixed prices of grains, but the peasants refused to sell their grains to government buyers at these prices because government was paying them less than the investment and they were not getting any benefits. So, Stalin believed that rich peasants and traders in the countryside were holding stocks in the hope of higher prices so that they can earn profit by selling those hoarded grains. So, Stalin introduced the collectivization of Soviet agriculture. It brought the great majority of peasants into collective and state farms. In 1928, party members toured the grain producing areas, supervising enforced grain collection and raided the kulaks. Kulaks were the rich peasants or landowners who owned maximum land and having maximum food grains. After 1917, land had been handed over to the peasants to improve and to cultivate. For the development of modern farm, it was necessary to eliminate kulaks and taken away the land from peasants and established large state controlled farms so that now the land can be improved, production can be increased, and the grains can be supplied to every individual who is in need of it and fulfill the demand of food grains. Do you know, student, who was Stalin? He was a revolutionary and Soviet politician who ruled the Soviet Union from the mid 1920s until his death in 1953. Now, let's see his policies. From 1929, the Communist Party forced all peasants to cultivate in collective farms. That means to collect all the farms and then cultivate. Peasants worked on land and the profit of the collective farm was shared among them according to their land and according to their work. Those who opposed the cultivation were severely punished and many were deported and exiled. The bad harvest of 1930 to 33 led to one of the most devastating famines in Soviet history, in which over 4 million people died. Those who criticized Stalin's policies were charged with conspiracies against socialism. By 1939, over 2 million were imprisoned or sent to labor camps. Means he wanted that most of the people should follow his policy and no one should oppose his policies. Students, as we have read the whole chapter of Russian Revolution, now let's come back to the last topic of global influence of Russian Revolution and the USSR. Let's see what was the influence of Russian Revolution on Russia and the world. Existing socialist parties in Europe did not approve the way of Bolsheviks took power and kept it. However, the possibility of a workers' state fired people's imagination across the world. In many countries, communist parties were formed. For example, Communist Party of Great Britain. The Bolsheviks encouraged colonial people to follow their experiment. Many non-Russian participated in the Conference of the People of the East in 1920, and the Bolshevik founded Comintern, an international union of pro-Bolshevik socialist parties. Some received education in the USSR's Communist University of the Workers of the East. By the time of the outbreak of Second World War, the USSR had given socialism a global face and the world's stature. The USSR became a great power. Its industries and agriculture had developed, and the poor were being fed, but it had denied the essential freedoms to its citizens and adopted repressive policies for its developmental projects. By the end of the 20th century, the international reputation of USSR as a socialist country had declined, though it was recognized that socialist ideals still enjoyed respect among its people. In each country, the idea of socialism were throughout in a variety of different ways. It means now the people were free.